Hello and welcome to the Cruncheons version 2, episode 2. And man, are you guys in for a disappointment. Doug's sick, Arian's late, haven't heard from Robert, don't know where he is really. But, so I'm flying solo, I'm Kevin, and I guess the show will be a little bit shorter this time because I had some things I was going to talk about, and Doug had some things that he was going to talk about, and uh, Arian has some stuff that he's going to talk about. I'm assuming he'll be here later. Robert, I don't know what he wanted to talk about, but he's not here. So anyway, I didn't have an intro written because this was kind of a last minute thing. Do apologize for it, but anyway, I'll just kind of muddle along. And on the show agenda, we had PSVR and PSVR games. Arian bought a new PS4 over the Black Friday sales, and let's see, did I mention Xenoblade 2? Yeah, Doug bought that. He'll talk about that in all his shame next time. And so anyway, I guess what I'll do is I'll start talking about the PSVR. I picked up one on the Black Friday sale, the $199 deal, and I bought a camera bought it used, and wasn't gonna get the Move controllers because I had kind of a bad experience with them on the PS3, but I ended up caving and buying a pair of used ones because my old ones wouldn't even hold the charge anymore. That's how little use they got. And so, let's see. I don't know if anybody that's out there watching, there's like 4 people watching now. If you guys have any specific questions about it, otherwise I'll just go into like the experience I had with it. It's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be, and it's a lot more comfortable. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the last Cruncheons audio podcast that we did back in 2015, I want to say, and the very last episode was titled "And You Thought Real Life Was Disappointing," and it was kind of about VR, and I talked some mad shit about VR then, and well, I'm not going to say I was 100% wrong, but I was partially wrong. Now, I still don't think it's going to take off quite as quite as big as I think that the alternative headset, the AR, or was it Microsoft's mixed reality sets, I think those will take off in the mainstream on a much larger level than the VR headset, simply because you can see the outside world. Because when you put this headset on, now it is comfortable, as much as something strapped to your face can be comfortable, but it blocks everything off. Something as simple as reaching for your remote, you're just kind of scrambling on your desktop or on your mine was a side table. I have a recliner, and I was kind of reaching over for it and fumbling around because you can't see. You'll have to like click the visor out so you can kind of see underneath to see anything, and it just shuts you out from the outside world. It gives you the illusion that you're inside another world, but the outside world is cut off to you. And I think the Microsoft thing, and I think there's a few other headsets like that, where you can see the world around you with an overlay over it. I think that's going to be much more practical for a lot of everyday things. Now, I think VR will be the bigger headset when it comes to gaming, because even though these things are pretty low resolution right now, the PSVR is 1080 by 960 per eye. And you can tell it doesn't really have a screen door effect so much as it looks like a pattern overlaid on top of the picture. Maybe like you're watching something through a pair of pantyhose or something. It's just kind of got that texture over it. But the screen door effect just kind of isn't there. It's mainly when the screen goes black, you'll see this kind of weave look to it. It's not screen door, but it's definitely there, and that sort of jolts you out of the picture. But when you're playing games, it's fine. Um, like I said, it was a lot lighter than I expected. It's a lot more comfortable than I expected with the padding and such. It did get a little tight on the back of my head because you've got a little dial that you have to click, and uh, when you can click it I guess too tightly, and it started pinching on the back of my head. But other than that, it was fairly comfortable, and didn't get in my way as much as I thought it would. There's a cord hanging off your left hand side the whole time, and you notice it because it rubs against your neck and things like that. But uh, for the most part, it didn't get in the way. It was kind of a pain in the ass to hook up because you have to run your PS4 into the little box that they give you, then out to the TV, and you kind of want to hide all that stuff. At first, I was like plugging there's a power cable and the two HDMI's, and I was plugging the little power USB thing into the front of the PS4, and it just kind of got in the way. I couldn't shut the door on my entertainment center, so I said, screw that shit, and plugged it into the rear of the PS4. And now it's a lot more manageable. The only two cords you have to deal with, there's a power cord, and there's a I guess the HDMI cord that goes to the headset itself. And I just unplugged those and wrapped the cord up and put it in the box it came in. That's how I stored it. Eventually, I'll probably get some kind of case, some padded case for it, because apparently the lenses on this thing are I don't know, made out of wax or something. And there's a lot of people that they're constantly talking about it getting scratched in some way. And I wanted to bring this up. I wear reading glasses. I did not put the headset on with the reading glasses on because I had read online on I believe it was Reddit on the PSVR that if you just wear reading glasses, if you don't wear prescription glasses or have some kind of astigmatism in your eye, that you don't really need it because those are magnifying lenses inside the headset itself. And they were right. It looks fine. It's a little low res. I mean, 1080 by 960 per eye, and you're scaling down from what's coming out of the PS4. But for the most part, it's okay. I don't think I'd ever watch any movies on it because it'd be kind of like going back to watching DVDs or the old DivX videos that you used to download or whatever. But as far as games go, it's fine. There's a lot of tricks that your mind will play on you while you're playing and kind of fool you into filling in details in games. Um, uh, the earbuds it came with, they're okay. I mean, they're just your standard kind of earbuds that I think for the price, went back when it was full price, they probably should have gave you some better earbuds or earphones of some kind. But these are kind of just those cheap mushroomy rubber buds that you push into your ear, and they're always popping out. Now, as far as setup goes, that's going to be the biggest problem. And other than wearing something on your face, because like I said, at no point are you unaware that there's something strapped to your head and your face. It's always there. Now it may be comfortable, but it's always it's always there. The biggest downfall to this is that there are a lot of wires. There's a lot of fiddling with this. I'm constantly having to sort of reset the centering because there's some drift on the picture, and let's see. Oh, well, Robert just showed up. Hold on. Let me well, anyway, I'll continue on until he joins the channel. But anyway, so it's going to be the setup. And that's going to it's going to be the setup that puts people off the most, and the fiddling with it. There is a lot of fiddling with this. Like I said, I've had to adjust the camera several times. Some games work better when you're standing up, and then your camera's got to be on top of your TV for a lot of it. You know, some games work better when you're sitting down, or you're just tired of standing up all the time. I ended up buying like this $25 bar stool so that I could sit on it where it was a high enough profile that I could. It sort of gave the impression of standing up, while I was playing these games or whatever. And let's see, I tried on the top of the TV, and it's got this stand on it that sort of curves around and hooks onto the top of the TV. And it was neat. It didn't seem unstable or whatever. And then on the bottom of the TV, I put it underneath the sound bar where it was kind of poking out from the front of that. And every time you do that, you kind of have to reset things. So I think that until these headsets can kind of come with some sort of built-in recognition or reading of the lights or whatever, and you don't have to hook up 20 different wires, that's going to be off-putting to a lot of people. I think that if they could keep this price down to the $199 or $250 or whatever it is right now, they've changed the price a couple of different times over since Black Friday. I think right now for that same $199 that I paid just for the headset, you can get the is it the Doom bundle? I want to say you can get the Doom bundle with you can get the Doom bundle with the camera. I don't think it comes with moves. It doesn't come with anything but the camera and the headset. I believe it's the Doom bundle, but you can get that for the same $199 that I paid just for the headset by itself, and that's a pretty good deal. If they can keep that price to that, then they'll sell quite a bit of these. From what I understand, they've sold quite a bit anyway. Now, once you get everything set up, and that takes a while, and you're going to get kind of frustrated with it. Once you get everything set up, get all your stuff calibrated, and you have to go through calibration process with your headset, hold it up, match the silhouette on the TV with or in the camera with your headset. You have to do your move controllers, which I had to do that later because I got those later. Your controller, and then once you get everything set up and set down, kind of have your stuff. If you're running a game on disc, have it in the PS4, because you're gonna have to snatch that headset off to change discs or whatever. Unless you're running all digital and you have all your games digitally. But once you're in it, it's pretty cool. It's kind of low res, like I said before, and you'll get over it pretty quickly. At first, I was like, everything's kind of ugly, and everything looks like some sort of old LED display that you can see the spaces and the lines and everything's kind of jaggy. But once you get inside the game and your mind starts to fill in those blanks there, you'll probably have a pretty good time with it. Now, games that I've tried, that first night I got it, I didn't get any games because I didn't know if it was going to make me sick or not. I'd heard a lot of speculation about that. And the first night I did try it, my stomach did flip-flop a couple of times. Not too badly. It didn't make me nauseous or anything. It just felt like kind of like a hiccup inside your stomach. And so I said, okay, if this is as bad as it gets, maybe I won't take it back. And the next day, the first night I played, what is it? It's called the Playroom. The Playroom. And it's these little robot things, they all kind of feature in these games. Now, I only played one because most of them are more than single-player games. And let me see if I can get Robert in here. Let's see. Can you hear me, Robert?
I can.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Your microphone says it's off.
Oh, I always mute and unmute.
Oh, okay, okay, I see. All right, all right, all right. That's cool. It just threw me off a minute. I was talking about the PSVR. I went ahead and started everything solo. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. I'm past the part where it's all set up and everything, and talking about the games now. But I'll catch you up to speed real quick. Key points of what I was saying is that it's lighter than I expected. It's more comfortable than I expected, but you're still aware that there's something on your face and head the whole time, and that's going to be a big kind of drawback. You're disconnected from the world around you. Something as simple as reaching for your remote, you're just kind of fumbling on top of your desk, or your side table. In my case, um, anything that you have to do, you got to snatch that headset off. And that's why I said that I think that I think it's Microsoft and HP and some other companies are doing these mixed reality headsets where you can see the world around you. Those are probably going to take off in a more practical fashion for regular everyday things, whereas VR will probably kind of be biggest in games. I'm saying, I'm thinking. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the things about VR is that once you use it enough, some of the uncanniness starts to like not be as much of a big deal because you're just used to it, and that really helps you uh, embrace other games with it. Whereas mixed reality has a really good like first impression and not that acclimation period that you have to go through.
Yeah, yeah. It really is off-putting because it gives you the illusion that you're still in some sort of outside world, particularly with this PSVR, because you're seeing it's like watching a projection TV or a movie projector when you're just looking at the main menu of the PS4. You're looking at a big square like you're sitting in a darkened theater or whatever. They don't have people's heads around you or anything, no silhouettes or anything like that. But it's just like your own personal movie theater, and your mind kind of tricks you into thinking, oh well, I can get up and just go do something, but you can't. Everything you do, you have to pull that headset off, and that's kind of off-putting. Putting it together is kind of off-putting because there were a lot of wires to it. But once you get set up, um, it at least for me, I was telling people that the first night I didn't buy any games because I didn't know whether it would make me sick, and I'd have to take it back. And you can't take open games back. But I played that little playroom thing. It's with cute little robots and stuff. And I only played one game on it because most of them, for some reason, are multiplayer games. I guess other people will watch the
That's
TV.
that's really weird.
Yeah, the vast majority of them. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 of the 6 or 7 games, little mini games that are on there. This is a free game, by the way. You can go download it. Uh, it it uh, it was kind of weird to me. It's like, okay, well, I guess maybe they're expecting you to buy the headset, bring it home, download this, and show off all your buddies while they still get to watch TV while you're doing your thing. Maybe I think that was the thinking behind it. But for somebody like me, it was just like, oh well, over half the game is cut off to me now because I don't have anybody that I'm playing with or whatever. But the one game that I did play was a pretty good showcase for the VR. It was collecting the robots. It was kind of a platformy Mario-ish kind of thing, and you use the controller to shoot a grappling hook across these gaps and chasms, and then you broke the blocks with your little robot guy. When you rescued the robots, they would jump out. You had a virtual representation of your controller on the screen, and they would
Oh,
jump
weird.
out, and it moved as you moved your controller. And the little touchpad that's on the PS4 would open up like a door, and that's where the little robots would jump in, and they'd hang outside of it and wave at you and stuff. And it was kind of neat. Your little robot buddy that's on the main menu and features in some of the games. If you wave at him, I guess it picks it up on the camera and he waves back. So it was a neat, and it had a lot of depth to it. So it was a pretty good showcase for a free kind of giveaway mini game thing. It was a pretty good showcase, and also came with I guess this is volume 2 of their like demo disc or whatever, and I played a few things on that.
Those are
Uh,
fun.
yeah,
Those are a lot of fun.
um, Res Infinite, which I didn't like as much as a lot of people like. That's one of the ones they kind of rave on, and I I didn't care for it as much as other people have cared for something like that. There was some sort of a little mech type game. There's a bunch of different games on there. But the the next day I went out and got, because it was, it was still Black Friday, so everything was on sale except for Skyrim VR. Well, I bought that full price, and I bought Resident Evil 7. And apparently, I guess, when they have the PS Plus games, Rush of Blood. It's by the people that did Until Dawn, and it's called Until Dawn because it features the psycho guy from it in it, and that's like a shooting gallery game. That's a
Ooh,
you get into
weird.
the little carnival rail car thing, and you're on rails the whole time, and it's like a dilapidated carnival that's filled with psychopaths and monsters and stuff, and there's different. So I've only played like the first scenario of it, but you use your move control or your controller to control. If you use your controller, you're controlling both of your hands at the same time, and if you use the move, you can control them separately. And it's just a gun shooting game, but it's pretty well done, and it looks pretty good. Like I was saying earlier, that this is pretty low res, 1080 by 960 per eye, and that doesn't mean much considering that the hardware they have to get it to run on, they've got to scale the graphics for these games way down.
Yeah,
So,
it's miraculous that they were able to put something as compelling together given the hardware that they had to run it on, right?
right. And but it works pretty well. And I was saying earlier that there isn't much of a screen door effect with the PSVR. I'm not sure about the other ones, the Vive and the Oculus Rift, but they use the OLED screen, and the most you get out of it is sometimes it seems like there's a pattern over the screen, like maybe you're looking through, like like when you go into Photoshop and you lay a texture on top of a picture. It's not screen door, but it just kind of gives that sort of almost like a fabricy kind of look to it at times. And but you'll tend to focus past that after a while. The other thing I was saying
Yeah.
earlier is that your brain fills in a lot of details, and I didn't think it would, because at first you put it on, and you're like, this looks a little crunchy, but um, then your mind just starts filling in the details sort of for you. So Rush of Blood's okay. I want to go back to that one. Riggs was another one, I guess, that was free at one time. That's a mech type game, and I played through the tutorial of that, and that was kind of neat. You aim by looking with your. A lot of these games, you'll aim by looking around, and that's your cursor, is your headset, pretty much. Now, the one that's impressed me out of all the free stuff, there's a game called Bound. It's kind of an artsy game where you're this character, this woman or woman creature, because she has the body of a woman but wears a weird mask or whatever. um, and it's sort of a puzzle platform game, but all the moves are dance moves. Like when you mash the button, she'll twirl around, and like that keeps the little creatures off of her and stuff. And it's got this really blocky,
That's weird.
solid color aesthetic. It's kind of hard to describe. You have to look some videos up of it. But that one stuck out to me the most is because it's still third person. Most VR games are first person, but this is a third person game, but it still had that kind of depth. Like you were just in the world as a camera sort of behind this character, and there were some pretty impressive effects for something that's a game you can play with or without VR. That was one of those. It's got a VR mode included.
Right.
But Bound's it's pretty decent. I hear it's pretty short, and I want to say it's still free on PS Plus. It might not be. It might have changed over. Uh, but for a free game, it was decent. I tried a lot of free stuff. Um, Now, I'm going to give a couple of tips, by the way, that I read. These aren't things that I've made up, but someone was saying on one of the boards that because I was talking about how much of a pain in the ass, some games work better when you're standing, and some work okay when you're sitting or standing, but you don't want to stand all the time. It's different than working. When you're standing still, and sort of still in one spot, it just wears on your legs a lot more than if you were moving around. And I went out and bought like a $20 bar stool from Walmart, so I could like have the height but still be sitting.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got the swivel top, so I could swivel around and look around. Because if you're sitting in a chair, you're missing a lot of VR, because VR is 360. It's all around you. So if you're blocking off your access to being able to turn around behind you, then you're really just getting that effect from the front. And So I got that. That's not a tip, but I read somewhere where someone said to keep from doing that, they went out and got a cheap microphone stand and mounted the camera on the top of that. Apparently, you could they said you could screw off the microphone clamp and then use the bolt to screw on, because there's a hole in the stand for the PS camera, and it would screw right down on that, hold it still, and you could adjust it to whatever height you wanted, or put it in like kind of a middle ground, and then just put it away when you're done. And I thought that was a neat little tip. It means spending a little bit of extra money, but it is kind of a pain in the ass when you move the camera from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top, because then you kind of have to recalibrate everything. And it's the fiddling that's really going to get on people's nerves. And there's really no way around that, because there's probably just as much fiddling involved in any of the PC VR setups.
Well, I mean, the PC ones, do have a little bit, the fixed base area things that the Vive comes with.
Right.
Some of the Lightroom stuff. Like, I think with the PSVR, it's like they had a very fixed set of constraints that they had to hit to land the product.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, people are gonna have to deal with this camera issue, right? Like,
right.
to get this thing and at the price point, and the time frame, because it sounds like a really hard engineering problem to solve without like adding more hardware and increasing more cost.
Yeah. Don't both the Vive and the Oculus use multi-camera setups too, or is it just the Vive?
I know the Vive does, because that's the one I actually have hands-on experience with. I don't know what the Oculus Rift. I haven't used it.
Yeah. And all of them have come down in price recently. The biggest price drop, of course, is the PSVR. And I mean, I'll go ahead and say off the bat, I said when I started the podcast earlier that the last episode that we did of the audio Cruncheons back in 2015, it was about VR, and I talked some pretty hardcore shit about it. And I'm partially.
That's what we do, man.
I'll admit to being partially wrong. I still think that it's not something that's gonna just tear out and break away and become the predominant thing to game on, because it is still strapping something to your head. Again, no matter how comfortable they make it, and it is, I admit, pretty comfortable for what it is. It's still there on your head the whole time. You still connected by a cord to your PS4. You still have to snatch it off every time you want to go do something. And there's really kind of no way around that. I'm sure they could. I'm sure they could make headsets, especially when they go wireless, where they maybe click up on top of your head, like sitting your sunglasses up there or whatever. And maybe there's little shortcuts they can take to get away from some of it. But the main thing about it being on your face and head, and you being aware of it all the time, there's just no way around that. And that's going to be a problem with the augmented reality or mixed reality headsets as well. But at least you will, in those, be able to watch the world around you. You'll be able to see your remote on your table, or your drink, or whatever.
Yeah. So I guess my thing is about like feasibility, in that I sit back and I look at these things, and I was like, in order to convince someone to strap something on their head and pay a lot of money to strap something on their head, that's really hard. It'd be easier to get people to strap something on their head if the thing costs less money.
Yeah.
And then how do you make that money back on like software and revenue? It feels like there's like the platform that they're building around it. I know Oculus tried that, by having their store and tying things to it, and it seems like they wanted to go that way, but the market clearly didn't want that. So it seems like, in terms of like a feasibility and how do we make money standpoint, it seems like there's the VR and the hardcore experiences, and then you might have, like, at the low end, the Google Glass cardboard, not glass, but Google Cardboard, simple Samsung Gear VR. Slap your phone into it and have like a unique disposable content experience that costs a few bucks, right?
Yeah, and Oculus has that Oculus Go thing coming out, and that's going to be $199. It doesn't require anything for you to hook up. It's got all the components. Have you heard of that, right?
No, I haven't been following it.
Oculus announced this was a few months ago. They announced that it's a $199 standalone VR headset called Oculus Go. It's mostly fabric, so it's supposed to be pretty comfortable or whatever. And you don't need a phone or anything. It's not a just a headset that you slot your phone into. It's got all the stuff built into it, and it comes with a single controller, which is like a mini version of their Oculus Touch things. Um, and of course, you're just going to be able to play phone games on it. There's no way this thing's going to pack the hardware or the battery life to really do anything that's kind of expansive or really pushing the metal on graphics or anything. But that'll be a neat thing. You'll be able to watch your YouTube 360 videos and stuff like that. I didn't bring that up yet, but that was one of the things that I thought was pretty cool about the PSVR is that YouTube updated their app and put a VR channel on it for the PSVR. And there's a lot of like National Geographic things, where you're like standing at the bottom of the ocean and all the sharks and stuff are swimming around you. And
Right.
there's one where you're in the jungle and it looks like just a jungle, and then they start showing you all the hidden stuff that's like right there next to you or whatever. And some of the 3D stuff works as well. And apparently you can play 3D Blu-rays, but as I was saying earlier, I probably won't watch very many movies because it is so low res, and it's kind of like watching a DVD or one of those old DivX videos you used to download. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the best ones are the ones that are shot in like 4K or 8K or whatever, and then downscaled, because they still retain some of that detail. But it is kind of neat to do the 360 now. It's not the same as the virtual reality gaming because nothing's like, it doesn't feel like anything's like right in your face or on top of you. It's just you standing in the middle of the video pretty much. But it is kind of neat just to relax and look around. And like they had a helicopter ride over a volcano that was pretty neat. You could look around the inside of the helicopter as if you were riding in it. They had that King Kong movie that came out recently. They had because people are posting these things that are like experiences that you would get at
exactly.
amusement parks or whatever, and they're posting the videos for this stuff online, so you can just right there in the comfort of your home instead of paying for a $15 ticket watch some of the stuff. And King Kong attacks the helicopter and sticks his face all in it, and that was kind of neat. But
yeah, I'll be curious to see how content creators and individual content creators, I think that have made YouTube what it is, can get in on this game, and if they will, someone will be able to have success with it, and then if someone has success with it, then someone else will try to copy that success. Blah 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 blah. How well that might work.
Right. I feel like PS or Sony is they're a little bit more committed to this than the other peripherals that they've introduced and abandoned within the same year in years past. They had that PlayStation Experience. Was it last weekend or the weekend before? I can't really remember. I think it was last weekend, and they announced a bunch of VR games, and some of which are actual what you'd consider quote unquote real games. Like they have a Rainbow Six type game coming out, 4v4. And they showed a lot of the peeking around corners and stuff like that, and it uses that aim controller. They have a gun with analog sticks on it, and all the buttons of the regular PS4 controller, but at the tip of it, of course, it has the move controller thing. But all these games, that's another thing is I've noticed all these games have multiple control schemes for the most part. There are some that kind of require those moves, but for the most part, you can play most games with a controller or with the moves, and some with both of those or that gun controller or whatever. And that's good that they're not forcing you to, okay, you just bought this $200 headset for what it's costing now. Now go out and spend $100 on these controllers, So
right. It's more like I love this game and I wanted to take it to the next level. Upsell me on the controller.
Right.
That's reasonable. One of the things that's interesting, I want to go back to something you said about Sony, giving good support for it. Like that doesn't surprise me because it feels like if they were to ever drop this, they could never get back in it again. Like they would lose that ecosystem entirely.
Oh, exactly.
And they would and if it became really popular for whatever reason, it would just be something they could never convince people to buy in on their platform.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the way I feel it's going to go, particularly with this like first sort of, even though they have the version 2 of the headset, it's really just sort of uh, quality of life changes they've added. They've added little slots on the side of the headset that you can stick your earbuds in and get them out of your way when you're not using them. And they've done away with some of the cords, like the earbuds plug into the headset itself instead of into the inline into the cord that runs to the PS4. So it's really just quality of life stuff there. It's not like a revamp of the headset entirely. But in this first version, particularly, I feel like what we'll end up getting, and a lot of it's got to do with it's got to run on the baseline PS4. Now, I've heard a lot of games will run and look better on the PS4 Pro. I got a PS4 Pro, so I don't have anything to compare it with. But you're going to get maybe one or two, I guess what you'd say, feature length type games like a Skyrim or a Resident Evil. Maybe a half dozen if it really continues to take off, because apparently they've sold a bunch having these sales or whatever. You'll get that many feature length games, but the rest of them are going to be kind of smaller games or experiences, and that's fine with me because this isn't something that you want to play games in 8 hours a day all day long. You don't want to. It's something that you really kind of need to take breaks. I'd say going back to the tips thing. Now I let my friend, who's also my neighbor, I let him play Skyrim because that's what he wanted to jump into. And it was 5 minutes before he was like, "Got to get this off my head," And that dude was pale, he was white as a sheet, And all he could really say was, "Oh man." And he said it lasted about a half hour, feeling like he wanted to hurl or whatever. And my girlfriend, she lasted about 5. Now I put her in. I had gotten PSVR Worlds because it was like $10 on Black Friday, but there's a shark cage part where it's not even a game; it's just you dropping down in the shark cage.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And she got about 3 or 4 minutes into that, and she was like, "I need to take it off." And she didn't really get sick. She said her kind of vertigo-y feeling went away in about 5 minutes, so she probably was right there on the edge. But I think it's kind of like getting your sea legs, sort of like, because again, that first night, my stomach flopped around a little bit. I didn't get nauseous or anything, but it just felt kind of like hiccups in your stomach, And I just kind of pushed through it. And I think if you want to ease yourself into something like this, if you think you're prone to getting sick when you put these kind of headsets on, maybe go on the YouTube app and just do 360 videos for that first night. Maybe do something.
That's a great suggestion.
Where you're static and you're not moving at all, and there's nothing in the video that's giving you the sensation of dropping or moving or whatever. You're just standing there and you're looking around you, and that might be a good way to ease yourself into it.
And plus, you don't have things like frame rates maybe being a little I don't know if they're fixed or variable. Things like Skyrim VR, or just the general motion sickness that people get sometimes when they play 3D games from a narrow FOV already. Like, all that seems like it could just double down on that motion, on that sense of vertigo, like you were saying.
Yeah,
I like your suggestion of just like loading up some YouTubes.
Yeah. Do some real light stuff, and that's what I thought I was doing when I put the shark cage. Was it Wonders of the Deep? I forget what it was even called. I already traded it in. It was kind of like paying for a demo disc, So, and since it was Black Friday and then it was off sale after that, I ended up getting just about as much in trade-in as I paid for it. So it wasn't like I lost anything. And I tried Drive Club VR. That one was that one's kind of. I mean, it's fun. It's a decent racing game. It was just kind of too ugly for me. It was a little like everything that wasn't inside the car with the dashboard and stuff. That stuff looked great, but looking out the window, it was like all of a sudden you're inside a Ferrari or a Porsche or whatever, and you're looking out the window and seeing pole position. So
yeah, like PlayStation. It's like PlayStation 4 on the inside, PlayStation 3 on the outside. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. But I might give that another chance because again, I think I've gotten to the point where my eyes will fill in a lot of details and stuff. They really do on Skyrim because you get up close to certain things and they're kind of ugly. It's I'll get to Skyrim in just a second, but Drive Club, if you're into that kind of stuff, is a totally full featured game. I mean, tons of tracks. I believe there's online racing. You can set up cruise mode where you just drive around on the tracks and you can stop at any point and get out of the vehicle and look around you or whatever. So it is a full feature game, and I want to say it's like $7 right now because they're having holiday sales on PSN. So it just wasn't for me, but I could see where other people might like it. Eric, a mutual friend of ours, he likes it a lot. Uh, so
I've heard a lot of good things about the way that game developed. The original like content base, and the VR, it's just going to be VR on top of that. You're still going to play it for the content, and I heard that the content that they put in that game, especially after the kind of rocky launch, turned out pretty well.
Yeah, it's a full feature game. It's not just a VR. It's not just a VR mode within the game, like some games like Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I think is a great game. I may go rebuy it because I never played any of the DLC. But that's got a VR mode that lasts about an hour, is where you're Lara Croft solving a mystery inside the Croft mansion or whatever, But that's just a mode in that game, whereas Drive Club VR is a straight VR game from beginning to end. Now, let's see. I guess I'll talk about Resident Evil 7 first because that was the first full game, or I guess you'd say a AAA game that for PS4 and PSVR that was built from the ground up for it. I mean, alongside the regular version, and that game is pretty cool, man. In VR, I mean, it's a lot creepier because they have the not all games have this, but they have the sort of 3D virtual surround while you're playing. Like Skyrim doesn't have it. Skyrim's just regular old 2.1 or whatever surround, and but Resident Evil, I mean, there's stuff, you hear things and they're in the back right corner, and that lends a lot. Sound plays a big part in VR.
Yeah, that's 100% been my experience too. Like, well positioned audio really, really, really helps provide depth for the room. And in there, that gives you like that real experience that has depth to it, right? And it isn't just a disconnected blob floating in there. There's something before, there's something ahead of me, there's something behind me.
Yeah, it's got a lot of depth, as in scale in that game, and I'll get back to that on Skyrim too, because that's where that game really shines. But you feel like you're in that house. I mean, again, it's the weirdest thing. I mean, you can talk VR again. It's still gonna be a tough sell for most people because I can't tell you what it's like. You kind of have to do it yourself. So if you ever get the chance to test one of these things, I would suggest you test it. I'm talking to the audience here, because I was talking shit about it too. Now again, I'm not gonna rave over it. It's a neat toy. That's the way I'm looking at it. It's a fun, neat toy and a different way to play certain games. Not every game in the world I'm gonna want to play this way, but something like a Resident Evil, which I had started to play previously just in the regular flat screen version, it kind of takes on a whole new. It feels like a kind of a different game when you're inside that. And they have that big scene. I know everybody's seen the video where you're sitting at the dinner table, because I think that was one of the videos that when they announced the game, that was one of the first videos they showed you, where you're sitting at the table with the cannibal family or whatever, and they're trying to feed you the crap that they cooked, the bits of body parts or whatever it is, and you can't help it. When the guy leans in and he's trying to cram that in your face, you kind of feel your head pulling away, even though you know it's fake. It's not there. And then he gets mad at you and sticks a knife in your face, and I felt myself pushing back against the chair. You just can't help it. There's little things like that when you're walking along in the forest at the beginning, and a leaf wipes across your face. You feel yourself blink. There's there's a part at the first of now I'm not too far into it, so I can't talk about the complete game, but there's a part at the beginning where you go through a gate that's made of all these circular saw blades and animal hides and junk, nasty junk dripping down, and you go through the bottom part of it, and I don't know if I can add. Hold on, because Arian's here. Yeah, he's in.
Sweet.
I don't know how to add him to the call. I really don't.
Okay, so one of the things that you said that was really interesting, or the leaf over as it hit your nose or whatnot. I think it's interesting when you do experiments in games and you set up those scenes so that you kind of invade someone's like personal bubble, if you will.
Right.
And I think that gets a really good reaction. I think people go, "Wow, that's really cool." I think there's that's something that when you want to like make it, you're trying to like sell the platform to someone. That's kind of experience. I think when people think. But I thought as I used the VR more on the Vive, which I don't own, but I do have significant experience with it. I found that the scale, seeing things further away outside of my personal bubble was just as remarkable too. But it's certainly to get people jumping and going right at the start, like doing things right in your face, right near you, right in front of you, definitely gets people's attention.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when I was going through that gate, what I was gonna say is I could feel junk dripping on the back of my neck. Like it's impossible to describe to people how it tricks your mind. It's something you kind of have to experience for yourself. And let's see. Sorry, I'm messaging. Anyway, so
tell me about Skyrim.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, this is. I'll be honest. That's kind of the reason I bought the PSVR. I was like, I gotta see this. You're not alone.
I saw so many people say like, I can't wait to play Skyrim again, and they just kind of like jumped in. It's incredible.
And and that's not my favorite Bethesda game. I mean, I've played it a lot and I own it on a lot of platforms, but it's not my favorite game. But I think it's my favorite version of one of their games now. Though, like right off the bat, I'll go ahead and tell you, they had to make big compromises with the graphics in this, and the way they approached it was, if you're close to something, like you get right up in Lydia's face or whatever, let's see, you get right up in Lydia's face, and you can see a lot of detail on the textures and stuff. And it's kind of impressive. It's more than PS3 at that point. In the distance, the mountains, the sky, the moon and stars and such, those look really good. Where they compromised was in that mid-ground. Anything past, say, what would be about 10 feet in the real world, you lose a lot of detail. And it just gets kind of worse from there. But, again, that's where your mind will do that trick and start filling in details. Now, up close, not everything looks good. Some of the rocks and things, the trees especially, look kind of bad. They look like hexagon columns when you get up close to them, and they have some pretty shit.
I never thought the Skyrim's trees looked pretty rough, even just out of the box.
They look really good in that super duper special edition version that they came out with for the PS4 and Xbox One. They look pretty good in that. And I'm sure that the high res textures, I guess they put on the PC version, look pretty good too. But in this, they kind of, you can sort of get the PS2 ish kind of comments when you get up close to those. But that's where they made the compromises in that mid ground. And I guess that's probably the best that they could hope to do with that, because you got to make the stuff in the far background look pretty good. You know, you can't make that look like a blob, because the whole point of this is to feel like you're in this vast world. You know, in the mountains that are, you know, a mile away. You can go there. You know, that kind of shit. But as far as the controllers go, now I played it with a controller, and I've played it when I got the moves, and they did a pretty good job with the moves. Now the controller plays just like regular Skyrim, except you're there and your hands sort of stay static. Your hands are disembodied. That's sort of the thing with every VR game.
Yeah, I saw that. I see. It's like, it feels really uncanny.
Yeah, there aren't any arms there. I think there's a few games out there that do put arms there in the games, but most of them in general is going to be like a cartoon, like your Rayman. You know, you don't have arms. And they kind of cheaped out there, because you never see your character in this game. There's no character screen where you can see your character. There is an irregular Skyrim, but they could have added one here so you could at least see your character, because there is no third-person view at any point in Skyrim VR. So what you're wearing, what your race is, doesn't matter. It's just what special abilities you get with the race. That's what you're picking there, because you never see your character at any point. You only see their hands. So, and a lot of the characters, their hands look kind of the same. They're just differently colored hands, you know. And they don't put the armor on the hands. So, what the little leather wrist cuffs that you have at the beginning, that's what you see the whole time you're playing the game. It never changes. Now, when you unequip your weapons and you're just hands, then they have virtual representations of the PS4 Move controllers. They don't go to just empty hands. It's the PS4 Move controllers. And if you rotate them around, you see all the buttons just like if you were holding them or whatever. I thought that was a weird choice. A few people have been complaining about that on the message where it's like, just put empty hands up there. You know, maybe just put the move button layout on the back of the hand or something, because it is kind of weird that you're waving around these friggin' video game controllers in that world, you know?
Yeah, I saw that. It's like, okay, you know, me with my snow cone.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and play some. I did some recording, so I'm gonna try and play. I hope it comes out okay. But this is if you're watching right now, this is what this isn't what I'm seeing. This is how it records it. But
finally, reinforcements have arrived. I was expecting more, though. It better be good.
I don't know if it's caught up yet or not on the stream, but maybe not. But anyway, there was a little snippet of a game there, and oh man, yeah, that frame rate's pretty shitty. Yeah, I guess I can't do that.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, I'm running on 2010 hardware, so you know, this thing is not set up for streaming. Yeah, I made the wise decision of going to the desktop for this, and because I didn't like the way it was kind of dropping out on stuff at the laptop last time, but that's all right. I'll figure something out. Anyway, what you saw in that video that was running at 4 frames a second is how inside the headset in the lenses, that's what you're looking at. You know, the HUD and stuff kind of moves with you and everything. And there's a I wanted to give people a quick tip before I forget. There's a little problem with it. I'm sure they'll patch it out because they've already done a big patch which fixed some of the control issues. Where your HUD at the bottom, you know, your compass will start drifting to the right, and it won't center no matter what. And the thing that worked for me, there were several suggestions, but is to go into your PS4 settings, go to initialization, and reset all your settings. You won't lose your games, you won't lose your saves or anything. What you'll do is you'll lose like your wallpaper. You'll use little settings like that, and you'll have to re-sign into the PlayStation Network. I did that, and here's the key thing. Don't go calibrate your camera and stuff after you do that, because from what people are saying is that makes the problem worse. So I did that, and I didn't recalibrate the camera, and everything worked out fine, and it hasn't drifted since. So that's what worked for me, but there's a bunch of suggestions out there, but that is a known glitch. So if you're playing Skyrim and you're going, I'm not facing forward anymore, well, that's a glitch. So they'll either patch that out, or it's something to do with the firmware of the PSVR headset itself, or the camera, or whatever. But eventually that'll get fixed. But that's a quick way to fix it yourself right now, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to have to go and re-enter all your information and sign back into the PSN or whatever. But once you do that, I haven't had it happen since. Now,
I mean, it's Bethesda, right? You're gonna get a little jank.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. That's the most, like, the biggest thing they did in this game is their sense of scale is off the chart. When you walk into the Jarl's castle, I mean, it looks like the ceilings are 20 feet high. And you're standing next to the. You feel small in this, and in the actual flat screen game, you feel a little bit larger than life. You feel a little bit like you're towering over things. In this, there's that sense of height with characters around you, and you're playing an elf, so you're a little bit shorter than everybody. But then you play the high elf, and you're a little bit taller than everybody. So it's really that sort of depth there. That for a game that wasn't designed to be a VR game, they did a really good job there.
Nice.
They didn't patch any bugs. The same bugs that are in the flat screen version are in this one. People, like, I was going to play another video, but since it's running 4 frames a second, I shot a dude with an arrow and he flew like 50 feet in the air. Stuff like that. That stuff's still going to happen. You're still going to clip through things. People are still going to run in place against the wall, and that's particularly funny in VR. Because you're standing almost like you're standing there in front of a person doing that. The sort of repeated animations and the repeated lines and stuff, and it just feels like you're in this just world of mannequins. So, but at the same time, it's really cool. Now, before they patched it, they had an incremental turn. This is how you work the moves. You mash the PlayStation button or the move button on the one wand, and that propels you forward. And you strafe by looking. You look to the left, you look to the right, and that's where you veer. On
Weird.
your right-hand controller, the bottom 2 buttons where they have the 4 buttons on top of the move, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's I want to say it's this square and the circle, I want to say. Those turn you left and right. Before they patched it, it turned you in increments. I'm not a fan of that. Supposedly that helps some people. It keeps them from getting sick.
So it turned you increments, so it's kind of like, you're going back to playing like Bard's Tale or Dungeon Master on your PC, like just 90
Yeah.
degree, 90 degree, 90 degree. But it did like 20 degree, 20 degree, 20 degree, or something like that. That's really, really awkward.
But you're still running.
No.
Like, you double tap the button to run, so you're still like moving forward at like a normal pace, but you're turning in these little increments. Now, to be fair to them, you could adjust the amount that you turned. However many degrees that was. And I think sections of 5 or whatever. And let's see. Hold on a second. You know what? I'm gonna stop this for a second because Arian's been waiting for a few minutes. I'm gonna drop the call, hang up from this call, and we'll all join the voice channel.
Sounds good.
All right. Voice channel streaming. Are you still there, Frag? All right. I apologize to people listening. We just had some problems. All right. Are you there, Frag?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. Let me message him. Okay. I'll see if he joins in. But anyway, getting back to Skyrim. Where was I at? Yeah, they passed it
Increments.
to do smooth motion. So you just press and hold the button to continuously smoothly turn left or right. Works a lot better. If anything, it seems to me like a lot of these companies, these devs and publishers are being overly cautious with people because they have features like where your screen will sort of vignette around the edges and draw into a circle when you turn or when you move or whatever. And supposedly that lessens some of the nausea effect. Or they'll have things like where you do the turn in increments or the teleportation move or whatever. And to me, that makes me feel worse than just smoothly moving around. But I mean, I can understand where people would get sick, but I think the only way you're going to get over that, I think that unless you have some kind of inner ear problem or maybe some problems with your vision where one eye is way off from the other, you're going to eventually get over this, and you kind of have to power through it. And that's not going to apply to everyone. But like I said, some people are going to have problems that you just kind of going to be insurmountable for this. My girlfriend's son, he can't see 3D because of the way his vision is or whatever. So I don't know that the VR is going to do anything for him. It may. I know it's kind of a different tech than 3D, but I think they're kind of being a little bit overly cautious in some of these things, and because these are the default settings, is what I'm saying. And it's
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like Skyrim VR may be the first VR thing that people could pick up and play. Like it was bundled, and like, okay, we need to, totally out of the box, make sure people don't barf, right? And 10 minutes later, they have this like horribly negative experience of this platformer of the future, which means it's a pretty reasonable thing to do. I think that once you hang out with VR and you play it enough, those things are going to get much less than, like you said, sea legs. I know that the flight sim guys and some of the space sim guys, like they're used to it by now. It's just like a no brainer to have this, and they just shrug it off. It's like not an issue for them anymore. So maybe in time we'll see less of those, and it might be more of a I'm new to VR or I'm used to VR kind of option when you first start the game. And then you'll be able to have different presets depending on how familiar you are with, not vomiting when you play.
Right.
I've only ever been able to fool around with an Oculus Rift early in its development, and it made me barfy. So I think I'm just one of those people.
Well, you might not be. Is what I was saying earlier. I don't know if you've been listening to the stream or not, but
I just got home. Sorry, I had a work thing turn into a craziness. So.
But what I was saying is kind of like getting your sea legs, and you hear a lot of people. Now, the way I relate to it is when I was younger, I used to help my dad on a shrimp boat every summer, and I don't remember if I was ever sick or not because I was little when I started. But
Sure.
I just grew up with that kind of, swaying, rocking motion. It was just normal to me. Now, I've run into people before as I can't ride on boats. I get seasick. Well, how many times have you ridden on a boat? How many times have you gone sailing? How many times have you been on a boat? Once or twice. Well, you never got your sea legs,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair. I mean, I did only fool around with it, like, probably 2 or 3 times, and not for more than like 10 or 15 minutes at a time. I have a history though, like I can't really ride like roller coasters, and like if someone's driving like an asshole and I'm riding, and sometimes even if I'm like riding in the back seat of a car and someone's driving like normally, if I can't see out, I'll get a little bit sick. I don't know. Plus I have to wear glasses. So.
Yeah, I used to be that way, and now it doesn't bother me because I take the bus to work every day, and I never did before. I always drove, and like for the first like 3 weeks, it was like, oh my god,
yeah, I used to ride the train when I worked at the airport, like I'd ride the train to and from work, and like for like the first week or two, like I would get kind of nauseous, but eventually I just got used to it. I'm sure if
Yeah.
I like fooled around with it, but like let's be honest, like realistically, I'm lazy and don't play enough video games already. Like uh, I'm not gonna like buy more video games I'm not gonna play. That's not true. I'm gonna buy more video games I'm not gonna play at the next Steam sale. But
So, but I mean, the thing is, it's like you might have a game that you were going to play, but now there's a VR version. And if you have the VR thing, well, why wouldn't you play the VR version? I think that's one of the things that Kevin was talking about, and I wanted to go back to Resident Evil 7 there for a second, Kev. Did you feel like you wanted to keep playing it in VR, or did you feel like, man, this is a lot of work?
No,
the damn controller and put it on the screen.
No, it was because for one thing, Resident Evil doesn't use the move controllers at all. You just use a regular controller. It just added a sense of depth to it. Like it made it feel like there were things around me. Whereas the flat screen version, I'll be quite honest, I got a little bit bored with it at points, to the point where I didn't finish it, but I got to a certain point. And even though I'm going through the same areas in VR, and again, this is where the sound, comes into play, the 3D sort of the virtual 3D sound or whatever they call it. It felt like there was stuff always watching me. It felt like there was, when something would creak in the corner, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't hear that when I was playing the other version. I didn't have this feeling. It made me feel like I was locked in that house. I mean, again, it's your brain playing tricks on you. You know it's fake. It's fake because the graphics, again, they had to downscale, not quite as much as Skyrim, because you are just in that setting of that house. But everything does look fake. Like the when you see the pot on the stove, it's got some chunky edges to it, so it's not a real pot, but your mind makes you think that it is.
right?
You do that involuntary flinching when you hear things, or when stuff sort of wipes across your field of vision, like we were talking about earlier with the leaves or whatever. So no, it made me actually want to keep playing it more so than the flat screen version. Even though, again, I'm about at the same point that I was when I quit the other flat version of it.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the things about it is I worry that almost all these VR games that are like really long form, like it's just a lot, not just to ask someone to like play the VR version and get acclimated to, but like how do you make a VR game into like a lifestyle game? Like I sit down and I play this for 3 hours for 30 days
I
or
don't know
3 years. Like I just don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't think you do either. I think they're, at least for like a while, it's going to be more of like an event type thing where it's like.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I believe that there's going to be like one or two, maybe a little bit more than that, big games a year, like a Skyrim or a Resident Evil, but the rest are going to be smaller experiences. Yeah. Because really, it probably is unhealthy to strap that thing to your head and play there 8 hours straight. I mean, it is, when you get right down to it, it is a 5 or 6 inch screen, like 2 inches from your eyeballs. So that's probably not good for you.
They'll probably, before we like get to like a lifestyle type VR type game, like they'll probably like develop the Matrix jack directly into your brain. So
you're really waiting for that, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm there. Like, this reality is so displeasing to me. I'm so ready for a fake one.
Okay.
I can see you. The fuck this guy, fuck this, fuck that, fuck everything. Cleaning off his desk. I can see you doing that, and then just like leaning back in the chair and just jacking in. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is exactly where I want to be.
Speaking of jacking in, nobody's on the chat right now. I'm surprised because I thought somebody would have asked this by now. No, I haven't tried the porn because there's it's hoops you got to jump through. You can't do it in the web browser. You got to go download a VR thing, convert it, then plug it in, and you got to use a particular app that you can get on the PlayStation Store.
You have no idea what that shit is. Probably like posting fake request and fake ad traffic to like 5 or 6 different things while you're using that. If you did that,
Oh, probably. I'm not gonna bother.
You're probably like DDoSing like Minecraft servers and shit, just like trying to get your ultimate POV experience. I don't know that's no.
I'm too old for that kind of shit anyway. Godspeed to those of you that are doing all that, but I'm not going to jump through those kind of hoops. It's just because again, it's like when I was younger and you go to the strip club or whatever. It's just you get all worked up and there's nothing you can do about it. Ultimately you're still just sitting there by yourself. So try and break away from that. I guess they're going to build special chairs and stuff, I guess, at some point, but I don't even want to get into that. I just like playing video games,
I mean, but just how realistic, like, is the entire ecosystem of devices. Like you go into one of those like Adam and Eve stores, and it's like, here's for couples, and here's the single section, and the single section looks like a furniture store, right? Like,
yeah. You're about right. I guess to wrap up Skyrim, I'm sure there's a couple of things I've forgotten, but this touches on like the whole. They're throwing a little bit more support, but the move controls work better. They're not perfect. You'll still get the jitter kind of where your hands are jittering, and at that point when that happens, first it's like with your vision, it's like you're playing with glaucoma. And when your hands start to jitter, it's like you got palsy too, So you're ailing as a character, But anyway, to get over that now, I don't know if it worked in the past. You kind of just shake your controls real hard, and it sort of refocuses. I guess it helps them track it better. It kind of locks on better. But anyway, the archery in this is friggin' awesome, dude.
Really?
I'm hitting junk, even though again it's like low res, but I'm hitting stuff, and it feels like chunky. It's got that kind of weight behind it. It's again it's all a mind trick, but it feels really good and it's pretty accurate. Now they've patched in. They used to just have it where you still had your cursor in the center, so when you shot your spells like fire, shock, whatever. It would go to that center, and it was a little bit off because people wanted to swing their arms. Well, now with their latest patch, and again, they've done a pretty good job with this patch, and there's more stuff coming that they're going to address some issues people are having and stuff. So they seem pretty committed to it. Now when you use the moves, your hands are separate, so you can shoot fire over to your left, you shoot fire over to your right, you can cross them in the middle. That's pretty cool too. So they've done a pretty good job with these move controllers. I haven't played Doom VFR, which is the other Bethesda VR game out right now for PS VR. Fallout VR just came out for Vive or whatever. But
yep.
And I heard that's having some particular problems too.
Shocker.
Yeah. But I hear Doom VFR just doesn't feel right on it. I read one review that was like, yeah, get this for it's either Vive or Oculus. And they're like, don't get this for PSVR. It just didn't translate well. And maybe they'll address it or whatever. But I think they did a pretty bang up job on Skyrim. I've been really enjoying it. No mods. I miss the mods. I really do, because I really hate lockpicking. And the very first thing I always do, like when mods hit for a Bethesda game, is go download like a skeleton key or something like that, because that mini game is fun like the first 5 or 6 times you play it, but then it's not fun ever again. So and hopefully in the future they'll do something about that. Mix it up a little bit. I mean,
I still see Bioshock pipes filling up every once in a while in the periphery of my vision when I'm playing games. Like those lockpicking games really do stick with you.
Was it Tom Chick says something to do? I always get that in my head when these repetitious mini games pop up in a game. It's just time killing. It's just filling up time so they can go, hey, our game is 50 hours long. So
right.
But yeah, it's just straight up Skyrim, and it feels like you're there a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it throws you out of it. But it feels more intense when you get into a fight because that thing's right in your face, whatever it is hacking at you with, and the one thing they did kind of drop the ball on, get back to the move controllers, and I guess this will be maybe my final comment, unless you guys have any kind of questions about VR in general. By the way, before I forget, there's a big holiday sale on PSN. So if you just bought one of these things because of the drop in price, they've got about a dozen or so PSVR games on sale. Some of them really cheap, like $2-3. I don't know. I can't speak for the quality, but
I've wanted to play Res VR, but yeah.
Yeah, that didn't do too much for me, but
No.
I can see where people would like it that like this type of games.
Yeah. Well, I just remember enjoying the original when it came out. And
That's what this is. I think it's the whole game converted to VR, and then there's like a couple extra levels that they created specifically for VR.
Right.
But where they did drop the ball in Skyrim is the melee weapons. You pull the trigger to do a heavy swing, and you just swing regular to do a normal swing, but it just feels like you're flailing. It goes back to the days of the Wii and the Move and all that. Whereas with archery, they did such a good job with it. Like you can pull the bow halfway back if you just want to shoot. They did a really good job with that. That feels like, again, mind trickery, but it feels like you're pulling a drawstring on a bow. Whereas there's no weight. There's no weight at all to whatever you're carrying, whether it's a battle axe, a mace, whatever, sword, whatever. It all is the same kind of waggle, So they did a great job with the spells, especially with the free-handed movement, each hand independent. And they did a great job with archery. But you're going to probably be a little disappointed swinging an axe around because it just doesn't feel like you're swinging an axe. And it probably isn't unless you were to put some weights or something on your move or whatever, because the thing weighs 5 ounces, and that's where that disconnect is. You got this huge axe in your hand, but in reality, you had this lump of rubber. So,
right. You have a snow cone, right?
Yeah. That's about all I had to say. I didn't get it, but I intend to get because I just think it would be kind of cool. I'm gonna get Pinball FX because it's on sale for like $6 for 3 different tables, and I think that might be kind of neat in VR. Like, just kind of give you that feel of being over a real pinball table, So.
Well, pinball is awesome no matter what. So
yeah, even if
a good experience.
Yeah, even if the VR sucks in it, it's still a cool pinball game, So, yeah, that's about it.
It's so interesting to hear our take on VR like 2 years later, right? Like, at first we're like, no one's gonna put a stupid thing on your head and do all this, and now it's like, okay, now there's some niches where VR is like an actual product expectation if you're in the genre. And then,
yeah.
And then there's like all these like micro experiences and like games like what is that game on Steam where one person wears the VR headset and the other one everyone else like helps them defuse it. Keep talking and nobody explodes.
Yeah, they have that on PSVR. Yeah, if I had real friends, I would probably get that game. But
yeah, exactly. Like, so here's these cooperative experiences, and here's these space games, and here's the I think some of the hacker games like the Darknet or one other ones had that kind of thing going on. Like, I'm surprised we haven't seen more puzzle games, like actual like hardcore puzzle games, because those have always like leaned a lot on spatial visualization and 3D tricks. So the puzzle, like Puzzle Dimensions and all those older games. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that, or maybe I'm just completely ignorant.
There are a few. There's one called Tumble VR, which is kind of the sort of a Jenga-esque game where you use the move controllers and pull things around, and apparently it's got a lot of content in it. I think that one's on sale for like $3.50. There's one game, and I can't remember the name of it. Actually, I'm sitting right in front of a computer. I could always look it up. It's by the people that did Fez. Super Hypercube. Yeah. And that was where a wall's coming at you with a hole in it, and you have to adjust the cube to fit the hole. Because if you miss the hole, it resets or whatever, and you lose. It's kind of like that virtual Tetris, but not really, because you're just trying to fit it through a hole. There's another game called Static, which your hands are trapped in a box, and there's a bunch of different kinds of puzzles. Your hands are trapped inside this box, which is you holding the controller, and then you have to do the sequence of buttons and joystick pushing and such to unlock the box. And that seems kind of neat, but those are the kind of experiences that you want to pay $2 for. And where they dropped the ball when the VR first came out is they priced everything at like $30 and $40. You know, even if it was just
more like even 15 was too much, right? Like you're looking for like these $3 and $5 experiences, and give me 2 hours, and I'm good.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, now that they've caught on to the fact that okay, not everybody's going to pay $30 for this little 30-minute experience, and they've dropped the prices on these things, I'm more than willing to pay something like $6 for Pinball Effects VR. I'm thinking about picking up Drive Club again and giving it another chance. You know, maybe I can get over the fact that I thought it was kind of ugly looking. You know, I did with Skyrim because it's straight up kind of ugly looking. But and what I'm not willing to do is pay $50 for something that lasts an hour. You know, that's insane. And there's still some games out there that haven't gone on sale yet. You know, like there's something Arizona Sunshine. It's a zombie shooting game, which I'm a little bit interested in. I'm kind of tapped out on zombies, but you know, in VR maybe it's a little different. But again, I hear it lasts like 2 to 4 hours long. You know, I'm not going to pay $50 for it. You know,
No.
I maybe will pay 20, maybe. You know. But then there's something like a Skyrim where you can dump the same 100 hours into it that you dump into the regular version, you know? And that, I didn't like it, but that was worth the $50. You know, I didn't like paying it, but I didn't feel cheated. How's that? You know? I felt it was different enough to make it feel like I was, and it had been a long enough disconnect for me from the game where I'm going in some of these dungeons and I didn't remember them. You know, because I hadn't played it in so long, and I went, okay, all right, cool, yeah, this is kind of cool. I kind of halfway remember this one, but so some of it still, you know, seems new or whatever. But
and I think the disconnect is if you're going to make a game that need to charge $50 for, it's probably going to be a game that you're not going to build around VR. Or VR is going to have to be as part of the development process. Where like, okay, we're thinking about it, we're taking it into account, but we expect most people to just play this on their computer screen.
Yeah,
right.
So, yeah, that's kind of about all I had to say as far as VR goes. I know there's probably I didn't write anything down, so I'm sure there's probably a few things that I forgot. But is there any particular questions that you guys have? Otherwise, I'm just gonna wrap it up there. I feel like I have been talking like ever.
Yeah, you've been at it. No, I think like again, it's gonna be really interesting to see like how the economics behind it works out, right? Because the economics in video games is now like, let's try to make a game where people are playing a lot and are engaged frequently, like they actually log in and play it, regularly, versus these like disposable things. And if we see like kind of a merge of the mobile-based Gear VR, Oculus Go, and those kind of experience, like small experience games, like become like one strata. And then there's actual games that are built, AA, AAA games that have VR taken into account. And they're first released not in VR, but then later the VR version comes out afterwards. I've been looking to get a headset for a while, but I've just got so many other things to do. It's like I really don't want to, fuss with it. I'm still at that point. I still have not like said like, okay, $500 for a Vive. That how often am I going to want to use this thing? Like it's just really awkward, especially in an age where I might stream a game to my PC away from my office, and I actually have like, or on my laptop, like where the VR just makes no sense. Like there's a very real like, I'm playing games socially with other people aspect to it that just does not work right now.
Right.
And for those kind of like long form, I'm going to play this for multiple hours sort of experiences. So I don't know where the economics behind this like
There's a
pans
sweet
out.
spot. For me, it was $199. You know, I think if they can hit $199, which right now they have, I guess it's like I said earlier, I can't remember if it was Doom or Gran Turismo or whatever, but for the same $199 that I paid for my headset, you can get the camera, a game, and the PSVR headset. Now they don't include the moves or whatever, but most games give you the option of using. There's a few that depend on moves, but most games you can use a controller or the moves with. And if they can keep that price point for a camera and headset setup, and maybe whatever game they want to rotate in and out of the box, that's a sweet spot for that. For PC, maybe $299 because there's a little bit more hardware involved with the PC. You got multi-camera setups and stuff. I think because isn't Vive like a room scale type of thing?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So and to honestly, PC people are used to paying more for shit. So because you expect it to last a lot longer than your console. You know what I'm saying? So.
Anyone who's looked at buying PC displays recently knows that we're used to paying a lot for shit. It's insane.
And so $299 might be the sweet spot there. Yeah, but that's like, I can see I don't think they're losing any money on these things selling them at $199 right now. You know, so I think they can keep that price or close to it. And if you want to get that kind of penetration in the market, and this not be a flash in the pan, another set of moves, another PSI, another whatever the hell they came out with years ago that they didn't support, And again, they are kind of supporting this. I was really surprised at the amount of games that they announced in that PlayStation experience. There was a good dozen games that they sort of featured. They sat down and did their dev interviews and things like that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're halfway serious about this. But if they can hit that $199 point, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't feel. You don't go into it feeling like you wasted your money at $199.
Yeah, $199 is what finally got me to bite on a PS4.
And that's a great transition. You've never owned any of the current generation consoles. What do you think?
Well, granted, like my first experience with it was playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which is like incredibly polished. Like it's a
that game looks so fabulous. I'm jealous. That's like the one game. That's like one of the two games I actually want to play on that platform.
It's a fun game too, but like it's like I've just like I played it a lot like the first weekend that I had it, and then like I got it like around Thanksgiving, and I've run out of time with like all the crap going on in my life right now to play games as much as I'd like. So I've kind of fallen by the wayside on it. I did play some Nier Automata today too, but it's I mean it like. So like the specials that they had for like PS4s for Thanksgiving were ridiculous. It was a 1 terabyte system, and for $199, and at GameStop.
Yeah, it's a great price. Yeah.
And at GameStop, if you got it there, you got a $50 gift card for free.
Really, for the $199 ones?
Yeah.
Wow, man, that was a great deal.
And like everything was on sale. Like I bought 3 games. I bought Horizon Zero Dawn for $20, Final Fantasy 15 for $20, which I haven't played at all yet, and Nier Automata for $25, which like all of those were really good prices. Maybe not for Final Fantasy 15. I haven't played it yet. I'm probably going to be disappointed with it when I eventually get around to it. But yeah, so like I've been impressed with the PS4 so far. Like it's. Granted, like if I'd paid $400 for it at launch, and like I'd only had like the games that were available at launch, I probably would have been like really annoyed. But like 4 years later, with like third generation software, for half the price, it's a great deal. So
yeah. How's the build quality? These are the new ones.
Yeah, it's the Slim. It's like granted like it's small, like as far as I can tell it's sturdy. Like I took it out of the box, hooked everything up, and just put it in my entertainment center. I don't have it. I'm not trying to like have it be vertical or anything. It's just
Right.
playing horizontal because that's silly. But like I have been like I was worried about the stupid like not having a motorized tray or like a hat that you lift, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
feeding the disc in the thing. But so far, so good. So we'll see how it goes.
It's really interesting that that those companies haven't made like one that without an optical drive at all.
I mean, I'm sure they're getting there. Like the thing of it is like GameStop's gonna resist that so hard, and like I don't know like like what percentage of like their sales are beholden to GameStop, but I imagine it's a chunk. It's like a non-negligible chunk, and like their GameStop's business model is so revolves around like used software that like it's going to be hard for them to give that up. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I don't know. It just feels so natural for me to just like go grab a game online, download
Me
play
too.
it, and never have to like walk in a nasty store to buy something or make
like,
an extra trip on the way home.
I'm probably only going to be a digital customer going forward, and if I do buy something, I'll just get it off Amazon. Like if I have to have a physical product.
I can understand the reasoning behind that, but I feel like I kind of just wasted my money on Battlegrounds just the other day, and I'm like, I said in my head to myself, I was like, I'm never fucking paying more than $20 for a digital game anymore. This is the last time I get bit on some, and that was just a $30 game.
They'll fix that. They'll fix. It'll be jank forever, right? Because it's jank. It's jank everywhere, but it'll be less jank, right? Like give them some time.
Oh yeah, I just bought it too early, but I was thinking about all the shit that I could have bought because there's still holiday sales and stuff, So,
yeah, and the Steam holiday sales coming up in a couple days.
I'll tell you what though, if you're going all digital, it's a good. They just did this is fairly recently within the last few months where they added the you can use an external hard drive on your PS4 now. It used to be
really?
Yeah, Xbox was the only one that you could do like a year ago, and now it's both systems. You can hook an external up to it and just put your games on that. A lot of times they'll run they'll shave off a couple seconds of loading time and stuff too because the USB 3.0 is faster than the SATA internal on the built-in hard drive because they're just using trash slow ass hard drives anyway.
Yeah,
like
they're not breaking the bank on the hard drive.
Right, and I don't know if it would be worth the investment to get like a SSD and put it in an external closure. I've seen some sort of crazy people doing that online, but I don't know that shaving that 1 second off is worth the $500 or $600. To put all this together.
I mean, I'm sure it is to someone somewhere who has nothing better to do with themselves.
And crazy amounts of money. Yeah.
Right. Money to burn, literally.
Yeah. The reason I asked about the build quality is because when I got the PS4 Pro, I was a little like it felt a little cheap. It felt like they used like really thin plastic and shit on it.
Maybe my expectations were low since I got it for like $200.
No, I think maybe because they have to have the space inside the PS4 for the air for the heat or whatever,
Right.
That maybe yours is just a little bit more solid because it doesn't have as much space there, But I was noticing the flex on the top, when I felt the PS4 Pro, and I was like, that feels cheap. So,
mine feels pretty good. Like I don't know, it's I was all the way around impressed with it for the most part, but like I said, for the price, like in what you're getting, like that was the right price to get me to bite. Like 200, 250, like 250, 300, still not enough on these consoles to get me to bite. Like it doesn't help that like I'm not a big fan of Uncharted, and that's like the big thing to play.
Right.
PS4 as far as like console exclusives go. But
there seems to be a couple of good things coming out this year.
It's been around long enough that people, if you're going to find something you want to play on it, right? Like,
Right.
It's just been around that long.
And
are you going to play Bloodborne?
No, I'm probably not going to play Bloodborne. Like I just don't like dick punchingly hard games anymore.
Me either.
like the Dark Souls, Demon Souls type shit. Like I just can't. I played the first one and like I couldn't get into it. I was just like, no. Like even like the Evil Within game, like I know some people out there are big fans. Like the first level, I was like, this is like it's just being. It's not even that it's hard. It's just it's not difficult. It's needlessly hard. Like, yeah, it's just silly. I don't know. I couldn't get into that either. So there you go.
Man, you really that's an optimum time to pick something up. It's $199 and the $50, and there's a shitload of games on sale for like $20, $15 each.
I timed it right for sure.
Yeah,
So.
if I didn't know, and it's still a good time to buy some of this stuff. I want to say that just last weekend they ran them back on sale. Like they put the VR headsets and stuff on sale again right now through like the 26th or something. So they're liable to put these back on sale again. They sold a crap load because at my local Best Buy, you know the one I'm talking about, Arian. Just pallets of these things sitting on the floor, and I know they sold 2/3 of them that weekend.
Yeah. Well, like I went to. So like the GameStops opened up like at 4 on Thanksgiving, and they were ready to like sell a lot of these, and they did. Like there was a line. Like I got there like a little bit before 4, and like I was probably like 50th or 60th in line, and not everybody was there getting a PS4, but like a lot of people were, and some people were getting multiple like of them. So. Yeah, it was pretty nuts,
So going back to the Steam sale, is there like, can you guys like throw me a game that you maybe play this year, saw this year that I should look at? Since I basically played the same 2 games over and over again.
Not really. Like the problem is like I'm largely in your boat, Robert. Like. For the most part, like I like playing action role playing games. Like I like playing Path of Exile, Diablo 3. Like I got to the point where like I was so saturated with them though that like I just wanted like different experiences. So that's where the PS4 came in, and it was fun to play. Like it's fun to play games that aren't open ended, that like have like this is what you like. Here's what you need to do. Go do it, even if you're doing it like in a huge like open world. Like you still have shit you got to do.
The original Deus Ex design, right? Where you're going to you need to do this thing, but how you do it, here's a bunch of stuff, figure it out.
Yeah, and like you can get sidetracked on your way and just get bogged down in side quests and exploration, and that's fun. But like for the most part, like you're doing a thing and you're not just there to like get incrementally better running like maps or greater rifts or whatever, or like playing like, a session of Civ, whatever. Like there's an arc to what you're doing, and you'll eventually get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done with this now.
Yeah, I actually play like 1 or 2 of those games a year, but my this year's been so insane for me, like outside of gaming, that I haven't had an opportunity. So that's why I asked, like what should I pick up? Like, should I play Witcher 3? Because I haven't played that.
Oh yeah, you should definitely play that.
Okay,
definitely play Witcher 3.
Because I was thinking that was on my list, and I was like, okay, I should probably check out that. But I want to know if there was like something like
no, like if you haven't played Witcher. if you haven't played Witcher 3, you should play Witcher 3.
Okay, I should
Yeah,
play
most
that.
definitely, and you can probably get like the whole game of the year or whatever for $20 or less now.
Yeah, it was like PC. You can definitely get it for super cheap. Wait till the Steam sale. It'll like I think the new Steam sale comes up the 21st for all of our listeners. All however many of you there are out there, Rumbler. If you didn't know, Steam sale starts the 21st, so now you know. It'll be on sale again for probably like $20. It was like even like the console dirt person versions, like Thanksgiving, were on sale for like $30.
Oh
So,
yeah, if you by the way, if you own or were planning to buy a Xbox One X, they're doing a upgrade to the Witcher 3. Like they're gonna have 4K textures and all that kind of stuff. Like
oh, nice.
it's a more in-depth version. Like for PS4 Pro, they just kind of bumped the resolution up and I think tweaked the lighting a little bit. But they're gonna add a ton of new textures and such to the Xbox One X version. So I just thought I'd throw that out since we were talking about The Witcher 3. I don't really have anything to suggest to you because I didn't buy a whole lot of games this year. Ghost Recon Wildlands, if you're in the mood for something stupid, because they've turned the Ghost Recon into kind of frat boy GTA sorta, and it's got a certain amount of charm to it that you can just be a jerk off and tear off on a motorcycle and do crazy jumps and stuff. But don't go into it expecting the old Ghost Recon half serious militaristic kind of thing. This is
Right.
just
Let's plan like no guys. Leroy Jenkins, Dukes
yeah,
of Hazzard.
exactly. It's
Right?
it's frat boys with a helicopter, pretty much.
But
Yeah.
that's the way. I feel like that's the way it should be. Like that's the cynicism of the modern era. We don't think about it. We don't do things like, throw me, jump me, burst through a wall, and let me start shooting stuff. Like, it's more Kool-Aid Man, less serious man tactical thing. But you know what? The thing is, like, there are other games that do the serious person tactical planning sort of thing. So Ghost Recon doesn't need to do that anymore.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm not disagreeing. It seems like it's a goofy, fun time. And they just recently put some Predator event in it where you can actually go hunt down the Predator from the movies or whatever, and they have lines from the movie and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a little sequenced event that you would go and trigger. And I was like, well, that kind of fits in perfectly because I played a little bit of the game and I was like, that's the attitude there, 1980s action flick. That's kind of the, so I wasn't.
Was it Far Cry Blood Dragonish?
No, it doesn't go that far. I haven't played the Predator one. I just saw the videos of it, but I did download it. I do intend to go play that little event. But as far as the main game goes, it doesn't go that far, but it's still it's like a first year college student in a writing class wrote a Ghost Recon game. So he's putting all the jokes that he and his buddies tell each
Composition
other.
101, baby.
Yeah. In it and stuff, But again, that does have a certain amount of charm, and it doesn't take itself so deadly seriously, So it's not too bad.
So is it the first year college student that realizes that they can do what they can do when mommy's not around, or is it the commuter first year college student that is just like treating it as like my freshman year of high school?
Pretty much, yeah.
Is it the latter or the former?
Yeah, it's the latter. Yeah, it's the latter. It's someone that wrote this to entertain their friends by putting all their friends into the parts of the character parts.
Even better. Is it the latter trying to be the former? Because that script sounds amazing.
Yeah. It could be. It's like you hear some of the things they say because they're dirty jokes they tell each other and stuff. The kind of chatter amongst the squad or whatever. And you feel like you ought to roll your eyes, but you don't, because you just kind of go with it, serious subject, drugs have taken over the country. You got to, but then they make the guys the drug dealers and the drug lords you have to hunt down just these over the top, cartoonish characters, and then you're a bunch of cartoon characters. You can even I made my main guy look like Snake from Metal Gear Solid, and I don't even play those games. I just thought it was cool that I could do that. And but he still talks with like a 20-something voice because they didn't hire grizzled actors to voice these guys. They had, I guess, people on the dev team that just did their own voices or whatever. So it's I need to get back to it because I was having fun with it. It's just one of those games where there's like shitloads of stuff to do. It's a Ubisoft game, man. I mean,
Yep. So
there's 800 points on the map. So.
all right. So I'm gonna look into it, but I'm gonna play Witcher 3, and then I'm also gonna get Xenosaga 2. Is that it, or Xenoblade 2?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which Doug will talk about on the next show.
Right. I think I'm gonna get
that's
that.
going to be an indefensible. I think is
Right.
the character design.
Wow, if you get it, then it'll be a tag team indefensible.
Right. I don't know if every time like one of those people try to eventually go like boing yoing 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 yoing, or the old like 70s movies, or if that would be like incredibly incorrect. I don't know. We'll see. I do want to try that though because two of our friends have of the podcast have said that this game is impossible to put down. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something there, but man, it looks so bad.
They've got the weeb fever, man. Don't trust them. Yeah.
The thing that was attracting them was the actual like mobile phone gotcha mechanics in the game. Like that was the hook. Like
really?
It wasn't the mechanics. It was the fact that they were like grinding for pulls, and that was like amazing for them. Grinding for pulls, yeah. I'm sure other players of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are doing a different kind of grinding for pulls.
Yeah. The only other, I guess, recent game, I went ahead and traded it in because I'm cheap when it comes to games, and I saw that it was going to be on sale for $35 on Black Friday, and that's what they were giving in trade credit. And I was like, well, there's never going to be a better time to trade this game in, even though I've only just started it. I can always just go back and buy it when it's $15 because it's a single player game. Assassin's Creed Origins, really pretty game.
Oh, that game looks fantastic.
More Black Flag
like,
than Assassin's Creed. They've taken a lot of stuff out that people just got tired of playing the different types of missions. It feels like they took some cues and or ripped off Witcher in the fact that there's a lot of ambient type missions that you can pick up and stuff. It really pretty to look at, man. I was kind of impressed with the graphics on that one. I bought that because I didn't have anything to show off my Xbox One X with. I was like, that's a quality piece of hardware, but I don't have anything on it to show. So I was like, I'll pick this up and check it out, and it was gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous looking game. I mean, I can imagine that it's gorgeous +1 on PC, when you crank it all up. So.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's a recommendation more so than I played it and it didn't suck in the few hours that I played it,
Right.
That's awesome.
I just could never get into those games. I don't know.
I waste money on those games because I buy them and I feel like I should like these games because there's something appealing about them to me. But then I start playing them and I hate them.
So my take on those when I play them is like I get in, okay, I am going to totally content tourist this whole thing and just get it through because I know if I spend any more time than the minimum, I'm going to hate this thing, right? And that works out okay for me. I think where my problem is that I have this mental block where completionist is one thing, but playing like on an easier difficulty mode than some batshit crazy just like blows a gasket in my brain. So I have to be in the right mood to like sit down and fire something like that up. But I will go back. I do go back and have played some of those kind of games and like some of the old Saints Row stuff like I did a while back when I just needed to decompress. It was a lot of fun, but I was like, I'm not going to do all the random crap. I'm going to just barrel through it, have some fun, and say, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
No win to say win, kids. That applies to climbing towers. No win to say win.
You don't have to in this one. It's just kind of cheesy, but it's cool at the same time. You got this hawk and you're like the friggin' Beastmaster, and you send the hawk up, and you can see through the hawk's eyes, and your hawk can mark targets and look at areas, and that's what opens up the area on your map, kind of thing. So you never climb towers to do that. So they took that out. Also, this one controls. It's the best controlling of the Assassin's Creed games by far. You don't feel yourself magnetically attracted to boxes and things like that as you're running. So, yeah, it's just very well polished. Taking that year or whatever it is they took off, it shows in the polish of this. I can't speak to how it will be in the long run, but
shocking how that concept works.
Yeah, spend time on things, and they turn out better.
Well.
Yeah.
it would be nice if that was always true. Unfortunately, that's not.
Yeah. I just thought Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, that didn't help at all.
No, it didn't.
One game I'll pitch to you is a game called They Are Billions. It just hit early access on Steam. It's really, really, really cool. It has a little bit of the, I don't know, I'm doing great, oh, the hell, in like all 2 minutes sort of strategy and planning. It's got real time with pause. It's just a big strategy game where you're building a colony and have to defend it against zombies, and there are a lot of zombies in this game, like lots and lots. They captured the horde, almost like a river flowing into your colony as they attack it. And you're trying to do production change, you're trying to get defenses up, and it seems really easy, and then all of a sudden, like, you're just dead. And so it's interesting because you're not learning. You learn more by iteration. Like you play, you lose, and then you learn a little something. You play and lose a little bit later, and you learn something more. And it's really, really, really solid. I think it's doing well on the charts or whatnot. I'm not surprised, but that just came out of early access. If you're an FTL fan, I think there's a lot of parallels in it between that game and this one. In that you just have a really kind of unstable sort of game where things can get out of control quick if you're not on top of stuff.
Now I wonder how this would run on my 460 GTX. I used to not laugh when I said that.
There's a lot of stuff going on at a really good frame rate. So I don't know what the specs are for it.
Yeah, that's what I was. I looked at the images and I was like, well, graphics wise, I can handle it, but I don't know about all the, because they're not lying in the name. The whole screen was filled with stuff. So that's kind of neat. That's that World War Z kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it says the max. The recommended spec is like a 7950, and that's like a 5-year-old video card. So
okay.
I mean, I think you'd probably be okay. The minimum spec is like a integrated Intel with 1 GB of RAM.
Okay. All right. Well, that's on my agenda for next year is to build a new PC. I think it's been long enough.
So one thing I would suggest is to keep an eye out for deals on pre-builts.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Are actually super competitive now with putting stuff together because the crypto miners have just fucked us overall so hard on video card prices.
Yeah, I was browsing through the Best Buy sales paper this morning, and regular old PCs now have, some of them have like 16 gigs of RAM and shit. Yeah.
There was like a Ryzen build with like a 570 and 8 gigabytes, 1 terabyte drive, and good stuff, and it was like $600.
Yeah. And then you just slap your
256 SSD to boot on, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Of course, I know what's going to happen. If I get that, then I'm going to want to get one of these PC VR headsets. Yeah.
Well,
not both. One or the other.
The Oculus,
I think you can go on eBay. There's like a whole glut of them, of like the mixed reality stuff from the non-Vive type things. I don't know how well those work, but there are like a ton of them out there floating around right now.
Yeah, I might do that.
Because the manufacturers are packing them in with their computers, right? And then people are like, I don't want this shit, and then they're trying to resell it.
Okay. Yeah, those are probably for the doing the YouTube 360 videos and stuff. I don't know how well they'd work with actual games and such. Like, I'm sure there's probably open source software because there's even open source. Hell, there you go. I don't even have to buy a headset. You can get something. I forget what the name of the program is that lets your PSVR work on PC. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I would feel like an idiot if I bought 2 of these things. You know, I only feel like half an idiot now. But I feel like a whole. Anyway, was there anything that you particularly wanted to talk about, Robert?
No. I just wanted to give some mad props to a guy named Gazebo, who has been tirelessly working for the last 2.5 years on a Civilization 5 mod known as Vox Populi. It is incredible. It is amazing. I played it all year when my gaming PC was in storage for 6 months this year. And played on my Mac, played on my crappy laptop. But that wasn't my Mac. And I'm still playing it now. It is the best Civilization experience ever released, and I'm super happy. So if you bought Civ 6 and thought, wow, this is shallow and not that interesting, I'm a big if you're a big Civ player, but you also like Europa Universalis, like check out that mod, Vox Populi Civ 5 over Civ Fanatics. Really, 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 really good. That and there's a roguelike on Steam called Cogmind, where you play as a robot and it is you play as a robot. You have to like find parts and augment yourself and figure out the story and going on. It's so cool. They've taken the whole ASCII style, but now it's animated. There's drag and drop. There's all kinds of things. So it has like the old like roguelike ASCII sort of feel to it, but it doesn't feel like you're playing something with just pixels and with just characters and fonts. That it feels like a modern game, and the game design is fantastic. I've gotten to a point where I needed to rejigger my entire character, meet in the middle of things, and you just go and you slap different parts in and onto yourself, and it's really, really strong. So that's Cogmind on Steam. Really, really recommended if you're into those kind of roguelikes. That's it. And there's one more thing I want to mention. That's a game called Slay the Spire, which is a roguelike which is a trading card sort of game, but it's also a roguelike. So you kind of, as you battle through the dungeon, you get new cards to play. It's very similar to Hearthstone's recent release Dungeon Run mode, but I think it's a little bit more stat-heavy roguelike, whereas the Hearthstone one is really more like how well do you play Hearthstone and how well do you put decks together. So I think Slay the Spire is good. If you play Hearthstone, you can try the Dungeon Run mode that came out with the new expansion. Play that for free. It is fantastic. It is like 20 hours of absolutely amazing, difficult, challenging, engaging content too. So just a few things to pick up if you are like me and just play nerdy stuff all the time. Those are some really good games.
Nice. I'll give a shout out to the lunatics at Grinding Gear Games, who put out 2 super content-rich patches for Path of Exile, like back to back within like span of like 4 months, I want to say. So yeah, I'm not really playing the League this time around for Path of Exile because I've got too much other shit going on.
But yeah, that was my thinking. I didn't play Abyss League because I felt fatigued. Like they did the rejigger where you just play through the game once and you get the maps.
Right,
played through it 3 times,
which
is huge.
Great.
Yeah, it was amazing. But at the same time, like I'm like scratching my head, like, do I really want to go play a whole league? After playing through that, it was really rough. And then I was coming from Diablo, where you don't have to play the campaign at all, right? You just grind riffs and you just play random stuff, and it was just drop in, drop out. And I was like, okay, I went to like 650 Paragon on my Diablo season character before I quit, just because it was fun and I could drop in and drop out. Whereas like PoE, I felt like I was having to do stuff. I just wanted to play maps, basically.
Right. No, exactly. And like a problem that I find with PoE is that like I'm not a I don't really like trading. Like I would prefer to not be in the economy in PoE, but I don't have as much time to devote to it, so I can't really do solo self-found and like get a decent build working too well. Like that style of play really rewards like no life cat assing, and I don't have the fucking time to do that anymore.
I really wish that there was a separate league or some way where I could like do trading. No one wants to go to an auction house, but there has to be some kind of halfway house. Maybe it's still like a less popular mode where you can post a few things and sell them. I don't know, but the whole whispering, searching on someone else's external site through an Elasticsearch backend, like, come on, get the fuck out. Like, that's like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't abide by it. Everything else about the game is amazing, but every time I look at it, it's like, has trading been updated yet?
Like their design philosophy on it, like I've listened to Chris Wilson, like the lead developer for GGG. He says they want trading to be a part of the game, but they don't want it to be like an auction house thing because they don't want it to be so easy to the point where you're playing the auction house rather than the game. But at the same time, like their drop rate for like the really fucking useful uniques is like so much like higher, like it happens so much more frequently than it does in Diablo, and like it's good to have different styles of like of these games out there to play, but at the same time, like,
but I mean, it's not even drop rate.
If you want a headhunter, like you're probably never going to get one to drop.
Right, and it's not even drop rate. It's like I can't even get of things like a headhunter, like just getting a 6-link.
Yeah,
like,
like I've always had to like buy like even it like not even necessarily like a 6-link, but like I just had to grind like for a week fusing orbs so that I could like Varici it,
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, it's a big pain in the ass. Like I like that game. It's in a really good place, but I also like it's not really for me, which kind of bumps me out because I just don't have the time to devote to it. And if I had my druthers, like I'd play that game for like 20 hours a week, but I can't. So
but even 20 hours a week, like
even if like 20 hours a week, you're not going to be competitive or like like getting to 100 and clearing like Shaper tier 15 and 16 maps, like.
Yeah, that's my point. I feel like a lot of people like the idea, but how many people actually see it to fruition?
Like basically just streamers and like kids, like people who've like through whatever like stroke of luck have nothing to do other than like play a game for like 60 plus hours a week.
Yeah, whereas, and I'm not trying to brag on GG because I think the game that they've made is amazing.
No, it's super deep and super interesting.
Right. It just I just feel like you're just asking a whole lot from your player base and giving them a promise that you'll never give them because that's just the way the game is built. And maybe it's not like StarCraft where okay, you're going to be playing the same game and you get to Grandmaster Poobah and wow, that's awesome, you're competitive, but you're still playing the same game everyone else is. But someone playing with a 5-link and whatever random stuff they put together and grinding tier 2, tier 3 maps is not playing the same game as someone who's speed clearing 11s and 12s. Right, with incredibly optimized stuff.
Yeah, like last league, I did a Wanderer, and I was speed clearing like 12 to 14 ish by the time I stopped with like a kinetic blast, barrage Wanderer, so which was not a cheap build to put together.
No,
but I watched videos and I'm like, this looks fun. I want to do that, so I did it. But yeah, not a cheap build to put together. But yeah, grinding your games doing great stuff with Path of Exile. It's just it bums me out that it's not really for me. So what can you do?
I would love to have like Path of Exile like mini leagues or something where it's like, oh, you don't play our game very often. Here's a cut a slice of content, and here you go point to a beginning here, and or like what Diablo does, where you can go deep into the season and go crazy and go Paragon level, 1,000, 1,400, 1,600, or you can just like get to the point where you get your what is it, the wings, and be done with it, and it's like, oh, I feel pretty good about that. Get through your achievements and.
D3, like for all the like people like to like fucking bag on it, like it really does give you like you can play that game however you like. Like you can like just fucking goof. I have friends who just goof around with each other like on a console on the weekend every once in a blue moon. Like, oh yeah, let's play some Diablo. Like they don't even like fucking play Risk. They just run around killing monsters, drinking beer with each other. Or like you can like try to push like high end greater risks, or you can play a season and like just do it to get your stash tab and cosmetics. Like they've done a really good job.
Yeah, it was I consider it almost like the whole thing like had some flaws that they were never going to like bake out of it, but they did a good job making what they had really good.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows what the future will hold. We'll see. So, but yeah, that's it for me. I also I'm gonna be retro gaming here soon. I'm gonna be the insufferable person with a Raspberry Pi. That's my Christmas present to myself. And
I was at someone's house last night that had a retro Pi hooked up into an old Commodore monitor. Nice. And it was like they thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I'm like, okay. Congrats to you.
Yeah. Congratulations, nerd.
All right, man.
Anyway. So yeah. Yay, video games.
Well, yeah, I guess
we could talk about real life, but that's even more depressing. Video games. So,
hey,
and how little time we have to devote to it.
Hey guys, what about that Star Wars?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just kidding. Let's not do that.
Did you see it yet? Did you? I haven't seen it yet.
I did see it.
Was it as good as Rogue One? Because Rogue One was amazing because everyone died. I thought that was like the best thing ever.
No, it's not that amazing. I'll give you my spoiler-free review. It's a movie with like an A+ as far as ambition and like a C+ to a C- for execution. Like the funny thing is like certain people like are pissed off at like different things, and like from having talked to people, like the thing that infuriates me is not the thing that infuriates most people. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. But everyone found something infuriating. So.
Not everyone. Some people really loved it and think it's great. And like it's the weird. It's weird in that like there's really no in between. Like you either like loved it or like feel like it, murdered your puppies. I guess I don't know. I'm kind of like in between. Like I get what they were going for, and if they'd pulled it off, that would have been great. But like they didn't pull it off to my satisfaction. So. But then again, I'm an impossible to please cynic, so
at least you got there. I'm gonna try to get there this week, but I got lots going on, so I don't know.
Sure, yeah. I had to go see it opening night because I'm a lunatic that way. But
was it crowded?
Yeah, it was bad. I went to an 11:30 showing though, so it was like. The theater was like 2/3 full, which is like 2/3 too full for me. I like going like Tuesday or Thursday afternoon, like the week after something opens up, like the first showing. If I go to my local theater then, it's pretty much cleared out. But I didn't want to wait this time because because I wanted to have an opinion on the internet, and I've succeeded.
Yeah, I haven't been to a movie since all year basically.
Yeah,
So
you're not really missing much. Although I did see The Shape of Water today.
that
The
looks so good.
It's so fucking good.
It looks so good.
It's really, really good. Go see The Shape of Water, actually, everybody. Star Wars is going to be fun. It's going to make all the money. Go see Shape of Water. Guillermo
Del Toro.
Yes, he is a. It's really good. Yeah. So
Cool.
go see it.
Awesome. Thanks for the tip, man. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and next time we'll bring back Doug, who will defend his, who will defend some very, very, very naughty things.
It's like Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for listening.
The airing of the grievances is over. Alrighty. Sorry I was late again.